Today on Real Talk with Coach Morton and Friends, got two good coaches on here. We're going to have a discussion about a couple different things within our sport, a couple different topics. So I'm excited. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I'm Coach Morton, head track and field coach at Converse College, also host of Coach Morton and Friends Real Talk podcast.
We're going to let the OG go first.
Go ahead.
Tyree Price, assistant track and field coach here at Bethune-Cookman University.
Charles Proctor, head track coach at W.J. Geenan High School here in Columbia, South Carolina.
All right, let's go ahead and hop right into it. Let's talk about scholarships. Obviously, not going to get into how much scholarship any school has or anything like that. It's a neat thought to think about. What if every school had the same amount of scholarships? How would that change? How would that change everything? Recruiting wise, how kids looked at schools, how would that change things competitively on the track? What do you guys think?
Well, I guess I'll jump on this one first. I guess it's almost a two-part question for me. Well, I guess I have a two-part answer. No. For me, if everything was fair across the board, just talking scholarship wise, I'm gonna bring up the legend who has all the coaches in the uproar right now. If Coach Williams at St. Aug, especially early 2000s, has the same amount of scholarship as these Power Five coaches probably aren't still at their schools. If he had the same amount of scholarships to recruit the same amount of kids that might go into your favorite Power Five, right, and we know, let's just keep it 197% of them probably can't even stand next to him. We're not even talking about these schools the way that we talk about them right now. Yeah. So but there's very few. I mean, there's no other George Williams, and there's very few other institutions where that would help. So if it was across the board, would it help? Yeah, but also, I mean, look, you can give. I ain't gonna call no school. I ain't gonna pick on them. But it's a couple of institutions in the state of South Carolina. I don't care how many scholarships you give. Facilities alone, they're not coming. So it would be nice. It would be nice to have the same amount of scholarships across the board. But if we're gonna be even across the board, let's make it all even. Let's go facilities and everything. But just off the strength of scholarships, man. I mean, I'm picking George Williams, and you give him the same amount of scholarships out of St. Aug. Facilities or no facilities, before they even got the track named after him. Man, he running circles around a lot of these Power Fives, so they don't want to do that.
Tyree?
Yeah, I agree. I think to the extent that if you giving everybody the same amount of scholarships, level playing fields would be thing. Of course, facilities. I think everything needs to be, as Charles said. Everything was kind of thing where everybody had the same facilities. It'd be a lot of parity going on with track and field. I think the scholarships, not only that now, if you had the same scholarships and the same type of support as far as coaching, and you have a staff with that, no matter what, I do agree George would do a lot of great things, but yet he's going to have some help with that to cover all the areas. He's not going to, with the same amount of scholarships, that means there's more influx of people. Now, can you manage that by himself like that? He's going to need some more help to help manage that. But I don't think that again, that parity would be there, that people would, it wouldn't be cut and dry that, okay, these are going to be your top 4 or 5 schools all the time. No. Everything is going to be up in the air. And you have the really ability, for those people who are low kind of on the totem pole of getting things, you may be the greatest coach, but now you just didn't have enough funds to be able to offer that student athlete something. and the student athlete likes you and really wants to go into your program, but yet the financial side is not working for you. So now with that, you can pull those people even more to your way, and then you're developing skills you're going to be able to kill.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think there's a lot to be said. Well, I'll start off by saying I think that at that point, other things come into play. I've lost kids, like you said, because I don't have the money. Kids literally say, "Coach, I will come there, but the money, I such and such offer me something I couldn't turn down financially." So I think, that's part of it, scholarship. Like you said, you got to have a staff. If you want to have a total team that's going to produce, does you no good to have a shot putter that can throw, but you don't have a throws coach. You got, as a head coach, you got to be able to manage, not only the athletes but the coaching staff. How do you divide those scholarships up? Some people don't know where to put that money at, and some people don't know, based on the conference or national rankings, where should I be investing my money based on my strengths and what, what's available as far as opportunity in certain event areas. So I think a lot comes into play, but most definitely, if we're talking about coaches that know what they're doing, I think a lot changes. I think the even field it evens out a little bit more. You're still gonna have some schools not reach their potential, but I think it'd be good because at that point nobody can complain as far as resources, as far as scholarship is concerned. You got to coach at that point, because I don't have to necessarily get the top recruit. For me, I don't have to get the top recruit. I know what I'm capable of. But it's so hard when you're looking at second, third level caliber kids and you still can't get them because you don't have the money. So that's what makes it hard on this level. If I'm able to get 11, 9 to 12, 1 girls, I know what I'm capable of doing with those girls. I don't necessarily have to go get 11, 5, 11, 6, and faster. So, when you got that money, it does make everything a lot easier. I think, like you said, there would be some, I think things would still be uneven as far as probably scholarship, equipment budget, travel budget, things of that nature. But if we can get equal scholarships, I love the quote. I saw an article from North Carolina A&T's coach, and he compared his budget to Texas A&M. He said, "I don't have Texas A&M's budget, but I got enough." And I think if you're coaching, if you're a good coach, I just see a lot of programs that have enough that probably aren't doing as good as they should do. And so, yeah, I tend to think if scholarships were equal, that would even the playing field a little bit. But what do you think the other discrepancies or other challenges are going to be for that school still trying to reach where those Power 5 schools at? What other struggles are they going to have to, other things they're going to have to worry about the scholarships even?
Well, sidebar. If y'all want to see a good interview, go watch anything Dwayne Ross does. Look, he shoots at these Power 5s like no other. I love it. Shout out to Ross and A&T for that, man. But other things, it's just like both of y'all said. You can give a coach all the scholarships in the world. For one, are you going to know where to place this money at to better build your program? And once you get these kids on campus, you still got to coach them.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to what you just said a little bit earlier, Brandon. It was you have some institutions who have been spoiled to where you're able to recruit the top kids.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't much coaching going on. And so for the smaller institutions where you're giving all these scholarships, now you're still going to have to coach these kids up to prove that you can improve them to a point to where now you're competitive with the power, with the bigger Division 1s and the Power 5s. Then I think you'll start getting the bigger recruits in as well. Because just because you're giving the scholarships, I'm a 10-2 kid coming out. If I'm a 10-2 kid coming out of high school, just because you got the money don't mean I'm coming if you've never shown that you can produce, that you can get me to run faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big thing, in my opinion, would be once you are given the scholarship to be on the level playing field, now can you coach up to that level?
Yeah.
Can you manage the program up to that level? Because Coach Price said it earlier. I mean, you give all this stuff, but if you can't manage the program and put a staff together that can help you manage the program, it's all for nothing. Mm-hmm. And so that would be my take on that, man.
I look at I think you still have to give something. I mean, equipment, and this is why you don't have to have all the greatest equipment, because if you're a good coach, you know how to maneuver and make that athlete better. You improvise to make things work for the student athlete and your program, what you're trying to do. I do think you need to add in some extra funds there to travel, to make sure that you're getting to some of the competition that just going to help expedite your process with the athletes. So they're seeing some of these other athletes and really competing against these. You know, if you go to a very small meet and I'm taking it, let's say you have a 11-5 young lady, you know, on your squad or a few of them. And then you go to a meet that the meet is 12-4, 12-5 is the next best thing to you. Your girl doesn't really have too much to really going to push her to even go to that next level. You can teach everything else, but I'm already know I'm out in front. You know, it's hard to get that person just to run for that time, because they lose track of what that time is, because they think, okay, I must be going fast because I'm blowing these people out. So you can lose track. So if you can get some to where there's some very good competition and being able to hit those things, whether it's, you know, Florida relays, Texas relays, and not even saying going to a University of South Carolina for where the competition is going to be good. But if you're only relative to where, well, we just go up the road right here because this is the cheapest thing we can afford, you're not exposing those student athletes to competition and getting them prepared, really prepared. I mean, your coaching is getting them where you need to be, but yet to see competition so that you're ready to go when the championships come along, or the regionals or whatever, you have to be put in that furnace to learn how high can I burn and still last.
Yeah, I think competition is very, very, very important. You know, that was one of the things. I think when I was at ETSU coaching, you know, the guys got to a certain level, the girls too. But I knew that Ifrich, my fastest guy, was only going to run as fast as it got to the point where I'm like, all right, he's only going to run as fast as the second place person pushes him to run. And if the second place person is 10.7, he's probably going to run 10.5. The second place person, I think at our conference meet, the second place guy was 10.3 and he ran 10.2. You know, so I was, you know, you got to get kids to those meets where they're going to get the caliber of competition that is going to push them past the point of what they think they're capable of. And like so I think an increase in travel to get them to those meets are important as well.
What to this there, even with the equals, I think that in college sports, because the scholarships are dealing with college, is not the high school side of it. But with that, I'm gonna add a little thing that if you played into, I know we talked, Brandon, you and I talked about something like this before, but if you gave everybody equal scholarships, but then if you cap those schools at how many student athletes you can have with those scholarship budgets, then you talk about a whole different plan again, because now like if I'm at 18 scholarships on women, and that's throughout, and we kept that for all D1, D2, NAI and everything, and then you said the 12.6 is for all of the men on those sides, and you say, okay, now, but you can only have 30 student athletes per gender on your squad. Now you open up a whole lot of things. Those people who have 60 or 70 student athletes, you know, and a plethora of people, those people are going somewhere. And they're going to really star and be, and so now that opens up a whole new game.
That's true. I never thought about that, capping it all. But like I said, you know, once once all the Power Fives get stopped, you know, those athletes left over trickle down to, you know, whatever's next. I think that that makes it more competitive. Now, you know, that makes it more competitive across the board, because now those bottom tier girls are going to have to get better if they want a scholarship somewhere, because eventually it gets to the point where everybody stopped, and you know, where do those girls go or guys go? I keep saying girls because I'm all girls, but but where do those athletes go? So that's a good, you know, that's a good point. But I think, like I said, if you do that, I think at that point, everybody's getting a higher tier athlete, because you get some of those kids that aren't ready. You know, you talk about a girl that runs she's running 11.9 one time in her entire life, and she wants to go walk on at, you know, some Power 5 school, and she gets lost in the sauce, and before you know it, you don't even hear from her. She could be at a mid-major somewhere, going from 11.9 to 11.5, and, you know, who knows what she can do after that. So,
right.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I think if you do that, it changed some stuff up. And I'm not saying you could have 30 on your active, and then you can bypass with 5 or 10 more that are automatic gonna have to redshirt until you phase out. Your seniors leave out, then they kind of regroup in. They can regroup those people in.
And then that becomes the question: do they want to redshirt a year, or do they want to run right away?
That's the question.
Right. Right. So now that definitely involves your trickle down effect.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids not trying to redshirt.
Yeah. I definitely would use that if I'm recruiting. I'm like, do you want to run now? Do you want a red shirt? And, you know, it's amazing because some kids, even though they don't want to red, some kids are all about the perception of being at those bigger schools, and some of them will choose to red shirt at a Power 5 at a bigger school as opposed to get right in the game and compete right away.
Even that, we got to understand, they're still recruiting for the next year, so you may have the red shirt for 2 years. Because if somebody's coming up is ready to go, and you're still not there yet to where they are, it puts some things into play.
Mm-hmm. I agree 1,000. Now, all of this, you know, for me, all of this kind of centers on the coach, you know, how well this is done, which leads me into my next question. How are we, I'm seeing a lot of lists and top 10 this, top 10 that. How are we determining, what's the criteria used to determine who the best coaches are? And I'm not talking about just college, but, you know, professional, high school, college, whatever. What criteria is being used, or what criteria do you guys use to determine who the best coaches are?
This would be for me, I guess. I think the criteria now is in place, or has been in place, for colleges and high schools: who's won championships, who's produced all the All-Americans and everything. And that's all in its place. And I you know, taking nothing from that, I agree that those are accolades that really need to be looked at. But then, but what about that person who doesn't have the star quality person for nationals, but yet that they came into your program and you took that person from let's say a 11-3 guy, and you got him down to 10-5. I think that improvements in how you improve that person, and how well they manifested throughout. It could be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year process, but that needs to be looked at as determining as a good coach. And I don't think it's a one person deal. Now, if you say I made one person great, that doesn't really make you a good coach. That made you a good coach for that athlete, you know. So I look at what you have done with a majority of your student athletes that came in, where they came from, where they started off at, and how much improvement they've made through your process or your training regimen. Training design, I really don't think that should determine if you're a great thing, because everybody has different philosophies and different things. So training regimens are going to be different, and all depends on what the type of student athlete you have. And that's a high school, club, and going all the way through. So, and then putting down another coach because of they haven't produced. But I mean, I had the ability to, or had the foresight to get a person that's a female, a 10-3 or 10-4 caliber person to come in because of maybe where I'm at right now. High schools, you don't have, you're going by who comes out there from your school. You know, it's not that I can go out there, you know, well, so to say, you can't go out there and recruit somebody to come to your school and build that person in. So it's you're really adapt to what you have, and then you're trying to build that person, those people up. And it's not just about one individual, it's about how well you did with your whole team. And for like different assistant coaches, yeah, then it comes down to your group area. You don't have to worry about the full team concept, but yet your group area that you're over. Accomplishments, yeah, they come in, but again, sometimes on the collegiate side, you may already recruited a top 5 person in the nation, and they come to at NCs and they're, you know, top 5, top 10. But I expect them to be there because they did it before. Now, how much did they improve while with you? That's more indicative for me for accomplishments that you've done with those athletes. And so I think that, you know, how much you've improved people, and you know, doing nationals, doing stuff at nationals, that for those people who can get those people there, or have the talented athletes to come in to be at that level, they help out. And I'm not going to knock that, because those reign true. I've been blessed to have some good athletes, and some come in good, some come in, but yet I've been able to, since I've been here at Bethune, you know, I think I've been to every national championship, and not everybody I had was really sought after as student athletes. And even with some of the people I've coached when I was dealing with club coaching, you know, is building confidence in those student athletes. And that's the other thing, is how can you build something in that person? And then also I think that another criteria is, have you developed character with your student athletes that you're dealing with, and how are you helping them to progress? That equation has not been really looked at, but I think those are the determinations if you're determined if you're one of the best coaches.
And I think that right there is, especially in this day and age, developing character. I mean, you look at the majority of the issues that coaches have with athletes, a lot of it has to do with character, whether it be them, you know, not wanting to do whatever workout, or ready to transfer at the first sign of some kind of discomfort or whatever. You know, if you can, and I didn't think this way, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but now I do. If you can get an athlete to sort of change their, well, I'll say improve their mindset to become more patient, because that is so key in the real world. If you can get them to truly understand that improvement comes with patience, I think you're doing a hell of a job. Obviously, like you said, when we're ranking coaches or whatever, you know, championships and things of that nature do come into play. But my biggest determinant of who is a good coach is improvement, and improvement across the board. My mentor, Coach Patrick, would always say, we got a coaching window, and you can either fit one person in that'll improve, or you can fit the majority of the team in. And, you know, that's how I determine who is, you know, who's doing a good job coaching wise on the track. And like you said, you have the other side of that where you're trying to help them improve as young people. And I think if you're doing both, you don't have to necessarily win a championship. I won 2 titles at ETSU. We won a men's indoor and a men's outdoor. The most fulfilling, I guess, feeling that I've had since I've been in coaching was 2019 outdoor championships here at Converse. We got 4. that was more fulfilling than any of those titles we wanted each. Because we were supposed to win. I mean, it was only one team we were battling with, as Kennesaw State at ETSU, but here I think they ranked us like 9th. And, there was a point in the meet where almost every event, Converse had a girl going on the podium, and coaches are looking at me like, man, what's going on? Like, your girls came here to compete, like they're doing, I'm like, that to me was my biggest, I guess, championships related. That was the best feeling I had as a coach in my 14 years of coaching, was that meet. It was just, not going to say it was unexpected. I knew what they could do, but for them to go out there and show the mental fortitude to get it done was, it said that we done it right on the track, but we'd also done it right mentally with them. And they were a tough bunch, So for me, it's great you can win championships. I mean, if you get a bunch of girls that run 11-7, 24 flat and 55, and they come to college and they run those same times in our conference, they're going to win all the conference events and you're going to win conference. That don't mean that they got better. It just means you got a good budget, and you can get in. I mean, and you got to recruit. You got to get them there. Don't get me wrong. You got to recruit, but at the same time, it's like, obviously your budget played a big role in that. If they didn't improve, they just kind of ran the same times they ran in high school, and they were able to beat everybody. But if I took a girl from 60 point to 57, then my kid improved and yours didn't. So who really did the better job, So that's kind of how I judge coaches. What are they improving off the track? Not just like me when they're doing good, or me saying you're tough because you completed my workout. The totality of the season is going to make you tough. And that's another thing I don't really get it. I'm not a military style coach anyway, but I just look at it like, I can't make them tough. The totality of the season and the things they're going to go through is going to make them tough. I'm not going to say make them tough, but it's going to kind of sharpen them and get them ready to be tough in the environment you're in. Because if you get a Green Beret to come out here to my track practice and I say, yeah, my kids are tough because they did this workout, he's going to look at it and say, their definition of tough is different from what ours is. So I'm very careful when I talk like that. If my kids are getting better mentally and they're handling things that I'm giving them better, then I feel like, and they're improving, I feel like we're doing a good job.
I totally agree. For me, on the high school level, I actually have this conversation. I typically ask a few coaches on campuses every year, and I'm fortunate enough to work probably with 2 Hall of Famers. They coach basketball. If you're familiar with South Carolina athletics, Keenan basketball is basically that deal in South Carolina, and I ask that question all the time. If we're talking, successful and quote unquote great coaches, are we talking just individual championships? Or like for us on the track side, is it that you continuously have kids qualifying for nationals? You might not have won a state meet, but you have the majority of your kids that you took to the state meet also qualify for nationals. So which means if you qualify for high school nationals, you're pretty elite on the high school level. And each division is whatever. But and so that's a question that I typically ask a lot, and even for myself, for a gauge. And I there's no way I can ignore titles.
No.
So for me, there's no way I can ignore the coach that is consistently winning high school state championships. Because at the end of the day, it's like Tyree said, it's not like you can go out there and go recruit your team. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times you're taking whatever's in your hallway. Mm-hmm. And every so often you get that kid that come out first year, second year, and they just blossom into something crazy. But a lot of times you're really developing these kids either from their freshman year or some from their 8th grade year, and you're just consistently developing them until they pan out to whatever it is they will be their junior and senior year. But also on the other side of it is also, like y'all were saying, it's okay. Yeah, this so-and-so school might not win state championships every year, but guess what? Their head coach is primarily jumps coach. And every year you can guarantee they got 3 jumpers in all 3 jumps.
Mm-hmm.
So every year going into the state meet, take away 3 spots. You're fighting for 5 spots. Because 3 of those spots is going to come from this school. It's, okay, coach didn't put together a total team to win the total title.
Mm-hmm.
But
that. Let me ask you something. If that's a head coach, is that really a good head coach? Or is that a good jumps coach?
No. It's an amazing jumps coach. Amazing jumps coach. Okay, I'll put myself on blast. Look here, if you want to see the mile and 2 mile, do not come to King. I'm not gonna sit here in front. I just got into the 800 because 800 is a sprint. 800 down, all hurdles, all jumps, and we do the throw. So we're a speed and power school.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to a track meet, well, no, not a track meet because I throw them in on a Wednesday meet. You come to an invitation, you come to the Bojangles Classic, and we have a miler on the track, believe he transferred in from I don't know where. And he didn't do his research because he didn't know run the distance events. But I mean, I play towards our strength. I know I have a very good throws coach. I know I have a very good hurdles coach. I know I have a very good jumps coach. And I handle the sprints. And so I take it as you have 1 event. Well, 3? You have the 32, the 16, and the 4x8 to score all your points. I'm going to do my best to lock up everything else.
Yeah.
And so from a head coaching standpoint, I know I'm deficient in that area. My whole staff is. All right, cool. And also just from the history of the school that I'm at, we just never have. And it's because there hasn't been anybody there that promoted the events. But I'm going to try to tax you in every single. So just like the jumps coach I was just talking about, I'm going to try to have my staff do the same thing. Cool. You bring your 3, you bring your 2 and the 8 and the mile, and you bring your 4x8. I'm gonna cover every other event. And so that's how I come about.
I'm on that, but I still say that head coach is a good coach because he played towards his strengths.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that because he didn't have a miler and stuff like that. Now, if you get a miler that comes in there and that's something, but then guess what? If that's a good coach, then he's going to find a way to make that person better than what they are.
You better do your homework.
Right. And he's going to get in there, start studying, and say, okay, I got to find a way because I think this person is going to be able to help us to score some way. We may not be the number 1 guy, but yet we got a chance to get in that top 8 and score, get a point or something out of it. I'm going to make him better than what he came in as. But that I still say, even with the head coach, if it's jumps over here and as you say, sprints and throws, he knows what he's a good coach because he knows what is going to help his program do well. If he took his attention off of that and went another way, well, even though it was a strength, but then down that let those areas go down, then he's a bad coach because he didn't play in those strengths.
But he's a good coach, and I would say he's a good coach because in that aspect because he's working to his strength. But I think as a whole, we're only as good as our strengths. How big is our strengths? You know, what you're doing at Keenan, going all speed, power, sprints, hurdles, throws, jumps. That's the large majority of the track events right there.
Right.
So your strengths are pretty big. Now, if your strength was only jumps, I would advise any coach, hey, even if you're having success at that, don't go away from it. Keep doing that, but also expand. Try to get better in the sprints and hurdles or the throws, or if it's distance that you, like I said, if a miler comes in or something like that, try to build on that. But that's up to the coach to expand his knowledge base. And that to me, that's when I say, is that a good coach? Is a good coach because he understands his situation and what he's got, but he can be a much better coach if he expands upon what he's doing, what he's already doing. That don't mean forget what you're doing. That would be just crazy to just say we're not going to be jumping anymore. If we're getting 3 guys in the state championship for the jumps or 3 girls or whatever, you keep doing that. But I feel like you also I like to call like generalist coaches, those old school coaches. You look up any of those old school coaches, you had coaches would be coaching the DATGON, they be coaching the damn 100, and you see them walking over coaching the disc, and they go back and coach the long jump and the hurdles. You know, I mean, you look at those old school coaches, and that's what they do.
Brandon, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier on, though. But if the head coach is if his primary focus is a certain event, he knows that's his bread and butter.
He gonna do that.
What makes a good head coach? Go out and hire somebody that can do the other ones.
And I think that, look at Arkansas. Now, I may be wrong. Y'all can fact check me or whatever. But yeah, man, in the 90s, 80s, 90s, you know, they had their dynasty. John, it was distance, field events. Mm-hmm. They won multiple championships. Then he's like, well, you need to try and change the model. At first, it didn't work for them. You know, when it came to the sprints, you hired a sprint coach, came in, they didn't win. But then after a while, they developed and they won a championship again. But yet now you look at Arkansas, it kind of went away from getting the sprints really on the men's side, away from going from the sprint side and trying to go back. But yet trying to get back to that formula, you don't have the, you know, because you lost your way and it doesn't work anymore. You know, what hasn't worked for them like it did in the past.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't work because you have other coaches now who are covering every other event, maybe except that. And so we're going to get into this conversation later because I know the question coming up. I'm going to bring the man up now. There's no way you be in Mike Holloway with just distance. Because when I'm covering sprints, hurdles, jumps, relays, and adding some throwers in there, you can be as dominant as you want to be with your distance crew. You can be a dominant. Nothing you can do. I'm covering too much. You're dominant in this event. You're getting first, let's say first and fourth and fifth. Great. Man, you got 3 events to rack up. If you're not racking up what's been taking about 60 points, 60-some points to win nationals, you're not getting it in those 3 events. And you've done an amazing job with that group that you have. You're not covering enough.
Yeah, and let's be honest, coaching has gotten better. I would say I don't know if I'll say it. More people are running fast. Now, they're running exceptionally fast. You know, it's not what it was. And even when I was in college or slightly after I was in college, I mean, now you talk about NCAA records being set every single year now. You know, I mean, it's just, you look at the top 4 teams from just this 2019 outdoor. I mean, you got AT in the mix. Texas Tech won the thing, you know. So it's just like there are different teams now. You got to know how to coach now. And I talked to Calvin. Like I said, they didn't even have to run the 4x4 at the national championship. But you know, it's like by the time they got to it, was already determined. It's a national championship. So I just, you know, the way that a lot of these teams are doing it, I think that's the route to go speed power. I think Texas A&M used to do that as well with Pat Henry and Vince Anderson. When they were there, they went straight speed power for the most part. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the same thing as a coach having 1 or 2 events that they're good at. I mean, if you're talking about the throws and you're talking about all the sprint, hurdle, jump events, that's a lot of events, you know. I mean, to me, that's not really the same thing as that one coach that shows up with 2 sprinters and they, you know, do whatever, you know, have a pretty good showing or whatever, and that's all they can do. I think I'm not gonna say I respect, but I have more admiration and more respect for those coaches that try to do it somewhat across the board, you know, because I guarantee Florida's got some decent distance runners. That's not their strength, but they probably got some pretty decent ones there. But I think Mouse knows where their bread and butter is at, and it's a large percentage of the speed power events. I haven't gone to look at it, but we'll get to that.
Okay, so how much stock are y'all putting into championships? And when we're gauging great coaches, and we didn't even touch the professional side. Professional side, it's I don't know if you can gauge it outside of making teams.
Yeah.
If you're not, if your athletes aren't making teams, I mean.
Okay, I would say you got to be really on that, because being on my team, being on is an accomplishment of being on the USA coaching staff. But there's some people there who don't have athletes there.
Salute to making the coaching staff. That's amazing.
So I give you a salute on that. But yeah, I think coaches that have on a pro circuit, coaches that have athletes at the trials, at the it don't have to always be at the Olympics and have to be at the World Championships, but that helps. That moves you up the ladder a bit more. But if you have let's say if you had 10 athletes at the Olympic trials or USA championships, that's saying a lot for you, which you've accomplished, because especially with the standards how they are. They're not easy. So you got some people, and just that day, it comes down to that day, who shows up that day as far as the athlete shows up. You're hoping that you're prepping them up, but yet someone else has a great day that day, so your athlete is making. So I think just making it to the trials, that gives you some points there, star points there, and then having your athletes how many athletes you have at the Olympics, so at the World Championships or Team USA stuff, that helps out. I think I give you a star. I think I give more 1 star or 2 stars for making the USA coaching staff, but I give more stars for how many people you had at those trials or in the Olympics, rather than I was on the USA coaching staff itself.
Yeah.
Brandon, we about to turn this into an LLC argument today.
Yeah.
This about to be Lucius and Clyde. Price, is no way. If we're talking professionals now, yep. I'm not talking about the collegiate kid that has qualified for the trials. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people with contracts.
Yeah.
You are paid. This
right.
is your job.
You're paid to get them to the trials and get them to the thing. Yes, you're not paid to be on USA track and field for that. So,
no. I'm not talking about making the staff. I'm not talking about the coaches.
No.
I'm talking about the coaches.
I said,
the coaches being great.
You're getting more stars for getting people there, and getting more stars to get on the Olympic things. I'm not saying that you're not getting. I revel those people that get athletes to the trials, people onto the U.S. Teams, getting those people on it. I'm not saying. I'm just saying those people who are on the coaching staff of USA track and field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give you as many stars as I give you a thing, because that is a voting process from something else, and that's about popularity more so, who to get you on those staffs, rather than.
Oh yeah. No, I wasn't talking about that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going to the popularity contest. We know about that.
I'm agreeing with you about how many people you get to U.S. trials, how many people you get on the Olympic teams or World Championships. I'm saying I give you less stars if you're on the. I give you stars, but I give you less stars if you're on the Olympic staff, because it's not always your athletes that are on that team.
There's an application process and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And those people who are not on the staff are still coaching their athletes. They're on the USA teams. So
right.
So I give those coaches who are coaching their people and who are winning those championships, because those coaches are the ones who are winning.
Okay, I stand corrected. I thought you were giving stars to the coaches for just having athletes make it to the trials.
No.
You're supposed to. You're pro. You're supposed to at least make it to the
give
trials.
them some stars for having things, especially if you have a whole bunch of people make it. I'm giving you stars for that, but yet you're getting more stars once you're getting in one finals, once you're getting into the top 3, top 4, and making
gotcha. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. But I say just making it to the trials. I'm not giving you I'm not giving you no stars for getting off the plane and running one race.
Yeah,
And you ain't even make it to the semis. I'm not giving you no stars.
I think with the majority of a lot of professional coaches, I'm not gonna say the job is already done, but the development process has been done. That if you're dealing with a guy that's running 10-0 to 9-9 on a regular, it's more about management and making sure they can do that at the right time. And like you said, just that brings in mental preparation. Like you said, what athlete are you gonna get when you show up to the trials? And what kind of shape are they in? The talent is there. Obviously, they can do it. It's not like you're taking a 10-5 guy and you got to get him down to 9-9, 10 play. He's already run that time. So can he run it at the right time? He might run faster once he gets in the final with all those guys, but
right.
He's got to get there first. So,
I'm gonna say one more thing because I know before I get blasted by the world about USA coaches and stuff like that, I'm not blasting. I say I'm giving you your stars for stuff, but understand that other coaches are still coaching their athletes that are on the team that you are thinking. Now you do have you are managing everything that's going on, and you have some insight, and you add into that, because your knowledge and everything you have, you're probably adding in some flavor into what they're doing or to help out, and even the mental preparation for things. But yet, I give a lot more stars to the coaches that coach those athletes every day.
Yeah, and I think that's what it boils down to. I don't, you have to have done something right to get on the staff, but if you weren't the one to build that athlete, then I'm not giving you credit for him. I'm gonna give credit to the coach that he may not be on the staff, but he built the sprinter or the hurdler or the jumper or whoever. That's who I'm giving the credit to. And like I said, knowing how to manage that talent at that latest stage. Because, when you get a girl that's pretty much developed, that's when the real coaching comes into play to me. Not, you got to know how to pull back. There's a lot of things that seem counterintuitive to improvement, but when you get to that stage, rest is more important than working out, because they're pretty much there. You can't get better in one day, but you can't get hurt in one day. So I feel like those coaches that understand that, and like I said, if they're consistently running fast and not getting hurt or not getting caught in any kind of scandals or anything like that, if they're making the Olympic or World Championship team, and they're having long careers, I got to give them, their props on that. And I don't know, a lot of times I don't know who's coaching who when you talk about professional. So, because like I said, you got coaches on the staff and you got their own personal coach that are actually doing the coaching. So, I don't know who's coaching who, but whoever's doing the actual coaching is who I would give the props to. As far as college is concerned, I forget what we were.
The original question was, how much stock are we putting in the championships when we're talking about collegiate coaches? Coaching, how much stock are we putting in the championships?
I would say that championships matter, because obviously even once you get to Power 5 level, they got other Power 5 schools they got to contend with. And there's something to be said about getting that kind of talent in and not messing it up, but getting it to continue to progress and get better. But there's a but. I think I'm also looking at the Ted Whitakers, the Danny Williamsons, the Jim Patrick, the Tyree Prices, all those guys that are on the mid-major level that are taking a Quamicha Morrison and taking her from 5'5", 5'6" to 6. What did she jump at nationals? 6
foot, 3/4.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Like I look at those guys and I'm just like, that's coaching. That's
yeah, most definitely.
That is coaching. And so I think there are two levels to this. I think you got like the Power 5 level. Championships do matter, but I always got to ask myself, what would Tyree do if he was at a Power 5 school and he had 5 of those girls? Pretty cool to see what happens. So there's a lot that goes into giving props. I think I don't want to take anything away from coaches at Power 5 schools, but I also don't want to take anything away from coaches that are at mid-major D1s or D2s or D3s or junior colleges. I have to look at improvement, and improvement looks different at different places,
Right.
If a kid's running 10 flat before he gets to, let's say, LSU, Florida, whoever, but he can't run it when it matters, and they get him running it when it matters, they've done a good job.
That's improvement.
Yeah.
That's improvement, yep.
But also for us here, our improvement typically looks like, okay, kid runs 10.5, and then he's running, let's say he's running 10 flat, that's improvement. So,
yeah.
To me, I'm not always, I look at championships, but I go really deep into I go see what a kid was running in high school, and then go look at what they're running now, and when they're running it, who they're running it against, because you might run 10 flat against a bunch of nobodies, but then when you get into the mix with the big dog, you get pulled out of your race and you can't execute. Now I'm like, okay, is that the kid or is that the coaching? I don't know which one, but I can't give you props for that, because to me they haven't gotten better.
Okay.
But that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. Another thing I was going to say, what I know when you come out of championships, more so when you look at that word is more derived towards the head coach than it is the assistant coaches. And I don't want to say that we're slighting the assistant coaches at all in this conversation. That's why I kind of look at it.
Right. Yeah. No, not at all.
So, I can use championships in that sense that, like, did you get your person to the podium of their events and stuff like that? Those make pertinent things for coaches on the assistant side as well. But then again, it still comes down to where were they when you got them, and if they improved in that, if they haven't, if they stay the same, they still scored. Don't give you as many stars as I see this person who came in 5th place, but they came from let's say I'm gonna use a high jump on the guy's side. He came from a 6'4" guy, and now he's a 7'2" guy.
Oh yeah, now there's levels. Yeah, there's levels.
Yeah. So I'm saying I give you props that you won that championship with that individual. That person won his individual, but when he came in, he was right where he came in at. So I give you props for you preparing him for the competition that day, that he didn't falter, but yet how much better did you make him? And not even just that competition. I'm looking for the whole year. Hopefully that person has improved. Now, if he just had a bad day, he just jumped 7.5, what he did when he came in, but throughout the year he got better. I give you some.
Well, for the sake of time, next question. I'm from the South, man. I'm from Greenwood, South Carolina. Not anymore. I used to love professional wrestling back in the day, and I kind of listen to a lot of those shoot interviews from the 90s and 80s, and there's this term called kayfabe, where wrestlers would, obviously wrestlers, they're beefing and they got these rivalries in front of the camera. But
I thought you made that word up.
No, that's a real word. It's a real word.
What are you talking about?
It's a real word. So, the thing is, they don't want anybody to know they don't have a rivalry. They don't want anybody to know they don't really have a rivalry, so they can't go out to eat and stuff like that outside of wrestling. So I think about that when I answer the next question. Where is rivalry within our sport? And I remember before I even started watching track and field, or before I started competing in it, the 96 Olympics, watching Michael Johnson with the gold shoes, and then him and Donovan Bailey the next year. And I remember Michael Johnson and Michael Johnson and Maurice Green, the 200-meter race that never happened. But the build up to those things were amazing. Where is the rivalry in our sport? And I feel like that's the thing that takes our sport, some kind of narrative. I've talked about this before. I'm going to use rivalry as, Allison Fields is going to have a great narrative when the Olympics roll around with the baby and stuff like that and her coming back. It's a great narrative. Where's the rivalry in our sport? That's just one of the narratives that we can have.
I think on the men's side, it was so one-sided in the events for so long, there wasn't a potential for the rivalry.
That's true.
Like let's take the 100 for instance. You Bolt lights everybody up, no pun intended, on 2008, and 2009 he breaks the world record again. 2011 he's matter of fact no he missed the 100 in the world championship false start. 2012 was supposed to be Tyson Gay. Tyson Gay runs this crazy time at nationals, pulls up. That would have been the narrative for the 100, but Bolt's reign was for so long, there was nobody to really rival him. Even when we wanted to put Gatlin in it, Gatlin, for lack of better words, Gatlin nutted up. I couldn't even find a better word to put in it. He did, and that was it. And so and then for the 400, for so long, Jeremy ruled it. And then we had the Karani and LaShawn battle. But really that was it. So from a sprint standpoint, it was only the 4 for a while, and it was only for a few years. But I also think everybody too buddy, everybody want to be friends. And like you said, even the wrestlers back then, like who's to say that off camera they weren't the best of friends, but on camera and in the media's eyes, they hated each other.
Yeah, that is it. They're all their friends.
We can't get that. We were talking before you started recording. Noah Lyles and Christian Coleman. Now I don't know with all this stuff going on how much we gonna get with that, but that was something that really could have been pushed, and it wasn't.
Yep.
It's like, man, listen. It's okay to push that.
They got into a Twitter thing, I think at the beginning of last season it might have been, and I was just like, I was captivated. I was like, oh man, I'm a grown man keeping up with these guys' Twitter accounts. Let me see what they, I was just so interested, And now, like you said, because it's been so one-sided, now it's the perfect time because Michael Norman beat Noah Lyles in the 200.
Yes. Noah
Lyles has beat Christian Coleman in the 100. It's the perfect time because you don't know there's not really, we can say Christian Coleman's the best 100-meter sprinter and Noah Lyles is the best 200, but there's potential for Noah Lyles to go down and beat him. There's potential for Michael Norman to go down and beat him. You got Fred Curley in the 400. There's guys that are equal level going against each other right now. And like I said, everything with LaShawn Merritt and Karani James was great. We track fans knew about that.
Right. Nobody else.
It'll never expand past. Like I said, I didn't know about track when I was watching Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson. I just two muscled up dudes were gonna race each other and they didn't like each other. And I was
you like the theatrics of it.
I like the theatrics. And that's what sports has got to have some sort of a narrative, whether you talk about LeBron James against the Golden State Warriors and now LeBron James against the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. And, it's just, there's always narrative in these sports. UFC does a good job of building up fights before, they do these shows where they go behind the scenes and you get to know them and they talk junk to each other. They don't like it. They probably don't like each other for real.
Right.
But, I think there is a place for our athletes to build their own narratives with so much social media and so many, they have direct avenue to the fans, like Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all that stuff. It ain't got to be real.
And we have many events to where the rivalries really, and we always talking about a lack of vision on the television, a lack of airplay.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I honestly think next year the 400-meter hurdles on both sides is probably going to be the premier event.
Yes.
There's no reason not to boost this up into some spectacle with these three men that two of them probably can break the world record. And on the women's side, I mean, it's almost like every time they race, the world record is broken. Yep. Why not push it? I mean, you have all these marketing geniuses everywhere else. Why don't we have none on the track and field side?
It's amazing you say that because I think on men and women's side, you said the 400 hurdles, but even with the short hurdles, men and women's side, it's more rivals there. And I think, and most people don't, you know, I look at field events. So when I look at, you know, it's not really posted out there, but you look at the teammates that used to be at Florida.
That's not a rivalry, Tyree. It's only a rivalry if you can beat me.
Lately, Will
Clay has been stepped there.
Yeah.
Will Clay and Christian,
that's like fighting your big brother, Tyree.
But you know something? They don't talk about it. It's just the stats. You know, you look at the stats and you look at how they play. You know, they don't train with each other anymore. You know, so one's on the West Coast, one's on the East Coast. You know, and they play through. And hey, I watched some of Will's practice stuff. I'm like, man, this guy is ready. You know,
wasn't that him on that video, that slow motion video they played on ESPN?
Hey,
understand the stuff that these guys. We have the best athletes in the world, and they're performing the best. That, you know, this is by far at the same time, we talk about 100, 200, 400, 100 and 110 hurdles, 400 hurdles that the U.S. has ever been, and there's the least amount of eyes on it.
Well, I think right now, when Bolt left, it's still because everybody was so amazed about what he had accomplished. It's like no one was there, so everybody else was second. So it's like, we don't have that one against about the characterization. With wrestling, the characters they make this persona of themselves that attracts people to them. And that's why I think that a lot of people in the sport, we used to have it where people had speculators that they had this persona that everybody was attracted to persona, what they're going to bring. But now some of these people don't have no persona. So it's like, I'm just watching a race now. You know,
where are the Mo Greens?
Yeah.
Where are the crossing the finish line, pulling the fire extinguisher out? Like I agree with Tyree.
But you know, you talk about the Carl Lewis's, Mo Greens, they made their opponents hate them because one, they continuously beat them, and number two, you got the showboating afterwards. So whether you talk about Donovan Bailey ruling sprints for 2 years, and then Mo Green coming and taking it away from him, and now you got a Canadian USA rivalry. You know, if you got guys that are of similar talents, you know, I mean, one's obviously going to beat the other, but they're similar. We got so much of that now. There's so much parity now in track and field in every single event to where there's not a big blowout. So there's an opportunity here to have a rivalry and people literally not know who's going to win. And, you know, you just go into the race like, man, you know, I got to sit down because it's not like boats out there blowing everybody away. I want to see this. You know, these guys don't like each other. Let's see who the best is, you know?
Right.
So like I said, there's got to be some kind of character, some kind of persona, but also I think that persona only works when you have somebody to go off of and work with. You know, I said Ric Flair ain't going to do what he does without, you know, Dusty Rhodes or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Stone. All these characters had to have somebody to work with, you know? And so I think track is the same way.
But as I said, as wrestling, when Ric Flair came through, his persona, the Four Horsemen and everything, their thing was the Road Warriors, all of his personas. Even through track and field in the past, you know, recent past, it's been presented. But now it's like there's no one, there's like The Rock that come up with a cliche or do something, you know, the Stone Cold, you know. There's no one doing that now. Everybody's just like, I'm just subdued until when I get to the competition. I'm still going to be subdued because I don't want to enrage anybody.
Yeah, I think Noah Lyles does a decent job of trying to put on a show. You know, I think he gets it. But it doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work unless you got somebody else to come back with it.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So. Like I said, I've been saying this for a while now. I think our sport is missing that. It's missing narrative. And I don't want people to think that's just one narrative is rivalry. I mean, I don't want people to think all our athletes got to be acting like they're beefing. You know, but we have to have something extra for fans to hold on to.
Yes.
I ask people that don't watch track. I ask my mom, like, why watch track. She's like, because I don't know what's going on. Like, she's literally like, I don't know who none of those people are. You know, she don't say because they're not running world records, because she don't know what fast is. Most people don't know what fast. They want a story to attach themselves to. I love that guy because I love Usain Bolt because he's doing the posing at the end and this and that. So there was something to hold on to, where it's like you said, now guys are just, so do they cross the line and they walk off the track, and you know, it's like, who other than us knowing what they ran, the average person is not gonna. And I understand people may say, well, we need to just cater to our fans. We can't be like, but I feel like there's an opportunity. If we want our sport to grow and more money, everybody keeps saying, put money in the sport. Who's gonna put money into something that no damn body is watching? If I'm ESPN, why would I give money? Basketball, they didn't get money. They used to be, those contracts were kind of whack in the 80s. And when Magic and Bird came and put a product on the court, and that product started getting some eyes, they started pumping more money. Then MJ came, they pumped more money. Then they went Dreams, and you know, by that time it's worldwide. They're not going to put money in something that's not going to give you a return on your investment. You know, they want to see the potential first. I think, you know, we talk about getting other sponsors, whether it be Google, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whoever, not just the shoe companies. They got to see something that they want to invest in. You know, if it was me investing my money, I'm like, ain't no way in hell I'd invest in a track meet. You know, like why? Who's
in the grand scheme of things, unless you're a track head, track meets are boring.
Exactly.
They're long.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. There's multiple events going on at one time. You don't know which to watch. We have to figure out a way, which is, I mean, we all grew up on the rivalries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We grew up on the rivalries, and so we have to find a way, which we didn't always know, especially as a young kid, just watching track, because my father was sitting down watching it. I didn't know everybody that was running, but just from the commentators telling me who were, you know, the rivals and going against each other, now you want to watch it. They're warming up and they walking by each other, and you getting these stares from each other. It wasn't no major press conference and stuff like that. It's just the stares. You already knew what was going on. Like, and we have to find a way to generate excitement back to our sport.
And I think that if you look at it, even with football, wrestling has its own little spontaneity. But when you look at football, when back in the 80s and stuff, they started doing all of the touchdown dances. People was thing. Then they got rid of the celebrations, and then it's like, man, people were going there, and it's like, man, now that they allow celebrations back, they come up with new flair, new dances, team concepts, and stuff like that, which adds some more excitement when you score a touchdown. And basketball, basketball is a little free. So I do something. I'm going to show some type of antic of how I'm going to flavor a dance. I'm going to stay you down. I'm going to say something to you or whatever to rev up the crowd and rev up my teammates at the same time to go through it. The track and field is like, it's not too much a revving up that's being done. Now, Christian Coleman did, I think, the race that he did, he won not too long ago. And, you know, he came in there, ran it the fast time, and he was really pumped up. And that was a lot of emotion that you haven't seen, you know, but both and the other and the Jamaicans have brought in. The only rivalry we kind of have is when those relays come together between the U.S. and Jamaica right now. But in the past, there's been other teams, the Brits, you know, or England, against us and everything. So now it comes down to just really bringing those things back up and bringing excitement and be yourself, be who you are. Don't just calm it down.
Yeah, and you know, the reason I like to relate it to wrestling, because wrestling's suffering right now because they have no characters. They think it's about the performance in the ring, and don't get me wrong, that's part of it. But people want to see the interviews, the shoot interviews.
Yes.
They want to see Stone Cold give me a hell yeah, the Rock say smell what the Rock is cooking, whatever. They don't have that anymore. So their fan base is suffering. Track is, our kids are running as fast. Our athletes are running and jumping and throwing as far and fast as they've ever done.
Yes.
But viewership is at its lowest because we have no stars. I mean, we have no mainstream stars. You know, like you don't have a Carl Lewis or Usain Bolt or Mo Green, Marion Jones, you know, people say what they want about her. She understood how to make the sport bigger. You know, I love Marion Jones, and like I said,
going for 5 medals. She didn't have to do that.
That's a story. You know, that's a narrative. That's a narrative, though. There's no.
Yeah.
I don't know what to look forward to at a meet. I mean, I know what to look forward to, but I'm just saying, if I was a general fan, what do I have to look forward to other than 8 guys crossing the line and walking off the track? You know, like it's boring. You know, I think we gotta look into that as a sport and stop thinking that it's the format. Or I mean, obviously we need to shorten the meets, but at the same time, we need to make the meets. We need to give something that's going to catch people's eye, and I think there's going to have to be some serious marketing to catch people's eye for our sport. So did y'all want to add anything else to that one?
No. Before we get off, I'm gonna give some roses real quick to my man Tyree. Tyree was the first coach that recruited my very first NCAA athlete.
Oh, wow.
Not Shadis. And before that, I think I might have called Tyree or sent him an email about some of my athletes, and he never hesitated to pick up the phone and be like, "Hey Charles, come to Orangeburg, come watch your practice." Hey Charles, I think I just figured this out. This is something new I've been working on. Come to Orangeburg. And look, and I hop in my car and I come in. I was just like, you know what? The next time I saw him, which is now is here, you know, hey, thank you, because you didn't have to do that. You took me under your wing. You showed me the ropes. You really having that first athlete and going through that process with her. Tyree taught me a lot about recruiting, even though I went through it as an athlete. He taught me a lot about it just from the coaching standpoint and how to maneuver things with my athlete and everything. So salute to you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. I got something new. I only gave it to 2 people so far, but I'm gonna have to. I'll share it with you.
Okay, I got you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I try to do anything that's to help, you know, and that's what I think this coaching thing had to be about, is helping other people be better, knowledgeable, opening your mind to different things, and being able to try things and understanding who you're trying it with and seeing if it will work for those people. You know, I think me and Brandon talked about developing athletes and developing coaches. I think you're always developing in both aspects. So.
Yeah. I got a dedication section. It ain't always, well, I'll let you guys go first. Tyree, Charles, Tyree?
You. Go ahead.
Anybody else's?
I go.
Go ahead.
I think this message is, I want 2 dedications if I can. Real quick. First one is to assistant coaches. I appreciate what you're doing to help manifest what the head coaches want to be accomplished. Keep pressing on. You get your just due. Everything will work out for you wherever you want to go. Some people don't aspire to be head coaches. That's fine. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep uplifting your student athletes. Keep uplifting the staff, and keep pressing on. The second thing, a message I want to send out is, you know, I face A&T all the time, and I marvel what they do. You know, Coach Ross and his program, and I think in the past, being at a smaller school as I've been, in a sense, we always get a thing where people are bombarding us with our athletes, and they'll be able to push them up and stuff. But sometimes that comes down to atmospheres and stuff like that, where people are bringing in. So imagine if it changed around, where instead of some of the student athletes from the bigger schools say, "Hey man, you should come over," like, "Hey, well, you see what I'm doing? You need to come over here and help elevate us." And I think A&T is one of the epitomes of that, where a lot of the people are coming from the bigger schools, so to say, and coming there, and you seeing that their program is being uplifted. So in some cases that you got to watch out what that's going to happen, that you know, some of the small schools can get better instead of taking that 1 or 2 people and away from that program and bringing it down. Imagine if 2 or 3 other people come and join that program, and how much it can be lifted up. And A&T is a very epitome of that same concept.
I got 2 as well, as the opposite extremes of each other. First one is to athletes that are not fast enough, that are looking to go to these Power 5 schools. Somebody, coaches, parents, help them, tell them the truth. Charles, you just did a big article based on a tweet that you wrote about this, and it's something that's been on my mind, because I think we can have a lot more successful kids if they're honest with themselves. Look at what's scoring in the conference, and if you're not close to that, then you're probably not going to get what you think you deserve. Stop thinking about perception and what other people think, and do what's best for you. Go to where you're wanted. Go to the people that show you attention and are going to take care of you. Look at the teams that you're looking at and see if they're getting the improvement. And if they're not, don't cry when you don't get an improvement when you go there. Because a girl that runs 55, if she was running 55 in high school and you're running 60 point, well, you're probably going to be running 60 point for 4 years, and that ain't fun. So go to where you can improve, and stop worrying about perception of what others think. Second, to those athletes that are working hard during the pandemic, still putting in work, take my hat off to you guys. Keep working hard. I know this was unexpected, especially to seniors in both high school and college. If you're not getting the college seniors, if you're not getting a chance to come back, just want to tell you guys, good job. And I'm pretty sure your coach and all coaches appreciate the work that you put in for 4 years. And, we feel horrible about you guys not getting your senior year. So, but the ones that are coming up, that are working hard, keep working. And I promise you, keep that work ethic. The future's going to be bright for you.
For me, since high school athletes are near and dear to my heart, I'm going to dedicate this one to them. Especially for my freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Please work as just as hard, not even harder, in the classroom as you think that you're doing on the track, on the field, in the weight room. Too many times we see great athletes fall to the wayside because they did not take care of their business in the classroom. And not taking care of your business in the classroom, I can almost guarantee your test scores aren't going to be that great as well. I don't care how fast you are, your favorite institution is not going to be able to do anything with you if your grades and your test score are not up to par. Mm-hmm. So please, whatever you do, even though we're in troubling times right now, we don't know how the school year is going to look. We don't know if it's going to be a hybrid system. Y'all going to be totally online. You're going to go straight into classes. Whatever it is, make sure you're doing your job and getting the grades that you need to do. Put in the effort into studying. Put down the phone. Get off Twitter. Get off Snapchat. Get off Instagram. Get off Xbox. Get off the PlayStation. I'm able to say that because I have kids of my own. I got to tell them the same thing. All right? The last thing you want is for you to run the times or jump and throw the distances, and the dream school comes and you can't go because you didn't do your part.
Preach.
Remember, you are a student athlete, and I preach about this all the time simply because I didn't do it. Luckily enough, the scale was totally different back when I went to school. But now, y'all, look, now it's rough for y'all. Please make sure you want to go Power 5, you got Power 5 times, make sure you got Power 5 grades.
Man.
Or you will be somewhere where you do not want to be at. And that's going to be nobody's fault but yours.
Yeah.
All right, so my message to the high school kids, I am pleading with you because I love y'all. I take it very seriously trying to advance track and field here in South Carolina. We're never in a conversation when it talks about states that produce great track and field athletes. We're never in a conversation. And so I'm making it my job to change that. Do your part. Get your schoolwork done. Love y'all and get your schoolwork done.
Get it done. Fellas, I appreciate y'all coming on doing this panel discussion with me. Let's do it again.
Definitely.
And to the world, y'all be safe. And we'll see y'all next time.